Hey, welcome to Hessen, Cambodia. Today I decided to do my own little disclosure video on things that have happened in my life. I know there's tons of disclosure right now, and I could probably spend all day talking about it, but I have on my little computer screen right here, I have 7 bullets that I'll mention real quickly. So try to keep an open mind, all right? I don't live, eat, and breathe aliens. I don't go to conventions, although I think I have been to one convention many years ago. But that was in another country. And I know many people have had the same things happen to them, so I just want to let you know that you are not alone also. So the first event that I have had happen to me when I was 1.5 years old, right? So you're saying, yeah, how can you remember something that happened when you were about 1.5 years old? Well, just let me get into it a little bit, all right? So I was in my room, and directly in front, I don't know if I was sitting up or on my elbow, I don't know, but I was looking towards the door. There was no doorway, there was an arch. And there were 3 individuals down the bed, starting about halfway going down. The first one was a little blue overall guy. The next guy was a ghost. He just looked white. And then the third one, I don't remember. He was a little bit taller than the other 2, or the first dude. And I never looked at, I think they made it so I didn't look at their faces, because I do remember looking and it was like evil. I was just so petrified. And then there was a 4th dude that was like standing up in the corner, and he was much taller. I don't remember. They were talking to me, and they were just trying to calm me down. And I was just trying to yell out to my dad to get one of the guns, because there was a gun case in the room. And I just couldn't yell out, and they were talking to me, but I don't remember exactly what they were talking to me. So obviously I remember this because whenever somebody would say, hey, have you ever seen a ghost? And I was like, yeah, dude, I saw a ghost. He was in my room, and he had some really weird friends with him. So I described the room to my mom. It had an archway. There was no door. There was the gun case, and you could see the hallway out there was light blue, and the light reflecting off from the living room that was off to the left. So I described that to my mom, and she goes, how in the heck do you remember that? Because you were just like, between 1 and 2 years old. And we were just living there for a few months as we were waiting for our house to be built. So that's how I narrowed it down. All right. So that was the first memory that I have of weird things. Okay. So we eventually moved into this house, the next house after the apartment, and I guesstimate that I was between 3 and 4 years old. There's many events that I used to narrow it down. All right. So I was up in my bedroom, and I was told to come downstairs. So I went downstairs, and I remember that part, but I don't remember seeing anything, or I just remember going downstairs. So my memory starts as I'm standing up, like in the living room, looking back towards the stairs, and there's like 3 people, 3 skinny dudes with big heads, big eyes, and they were at the bottom of the steps. That's it. That's all I remember. But the memory is there, right? Even after all these years. Now, something else weird happened while we lived at that house. I remember being outside, swing sets, kids running around. My older cousin was there, and there was this fireball that came from someplace, and it was like moving around, and we were running around, and I just have a brief memory of that. I don't know what to make of that. I just added that. Okay, so number 3 is after that house, we moved in the 2nd grade. So I'm still extremely young, right? When the first 2 things happened. So in the 2nd grade, we moved to a farmhouse out in the same town, just out in the country. So I guesstimated 3rd to 5th grade, all right, in this old farmhouse. So we fixed up the attic. Well, we didn't fix it up too much. You just put sheetrock, all over the place, and that's where my bedroom was, upstairs in the attic. And my little brother, he shared the room with me. So there was just 2 beds up there, right? A gazillion times I would wake up in the middle of the night and see this little hooded figure next to my bed. I don't know, he was maybe 8-10 feet away, and he was just standing there, looking at me. And then I would like pop up and then look over. Is my brother there? Yep, he's sound asleep. And then I would look back, and that little hooded figure's still standing there. So I would just take the covers and loop, wish him gone, and then I don't remember anything after that. Like I said, that happened a million times in that old farmhouse. So after that, nothing happened until like in my early 30s. All right. Well, my mom said I did a lot of sleepwalking when I was young. I can't confirm or deny that, but I never remember any sleepwalking or told her I was sleepwalking, after those experiences. As a teenager, and then, in my 20s and stuff. So the next one happened in my early 30s. I'm in Ecuador. We had built a hotel in the jungle, and we were on our way back. So we crossed the first mountain, go down in the valley, you come up the second mountain. We call that, they call it Papayacta. So we're climbing up the mountain, and we go around this curve, and then there was this craft. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, right? My ex-father-in-law, he's driving, and there's a dude in the back. He drove a tractor, and we were doing work at the hotel. So we were coming back, and we went around this curve or something, and I saw this craft. It was no more than 20 feet away. It was off the side of the road, because the road just drops off, right? There's no guardrails or anything like that. So this craft was like sitting right there. And it was maybe 8 to 10 feet high, and it had these 2 strobe lights on the top. One was purple and one was white. And they were spinning around so fast and like doing these weird maneuvers. My first thought was, dude, this thing is not mechanical, it's alive. That was the first thing, that this thing was alive. And then the 2 lights kind of like were like shining on us, but not, the light wasn't really bright. And then I don't remember what happened. The next thing I remember is that it was dusk. It was still daylight. The sun was setting behind the mountain, I guess. And the next thing I remember was seeing the craft again up farther. And it takes maybe five minutes to drive up to the top from where we were. And that craft was sitting there again off the side of the road. And it was nighttime. It was raining. And there was only one light on the top, and it was white. So I don't know what happened in between. Did it take 5 minutes to get dark and us to get to the top? I don't think so. But anyway, the thing just popped up. It was right there, and this time it was just one light on the top, and I saw these little tiny lights. I don't know if they were LEDs or not, but they were like that size, going down the side. Like I said, it was 8 to 10 feet tall, and it was like a cone shaped, right? So it was wide on the bottom and pointy at the top with the 2 lights on the top. But this time, the second time, I only saw with one light. And this time the white light shined on us, and it was like, okay, we just keep driving. Nothing there to see. Just keep going. So we just kept on driving, right? We never questioned. I never questioned what happened. I never talked about it to anybody else. No, we didn't even talk about it. It was kind of weird. But that craft, it was there. The first time I saw it, it was metallic. It had those 2 lights. I thought it was alive. It seemed like it was like talking or communicating to up, right? And then it was like, uh-oh, here he is. And it kind of, they like, whoop. And then whatever happened, and then we're driving up, and then I saw it again. I don't know how much time passed. I can't really get into that because I don't remember looking for missing time or anything like that. Okay, so the next event happened probably shortly after that. I was in my cabin in the jungle. We typically stayed in the last cabin. So if you take a look, the big reception area for the hotel, and then the cabins move off in almost a straight line, and they curve around and come back like a J. So we always stayed in the last cabin. So I was there by myself. It was the middle of the night, and I don't know, it was this dream or something was happening, because you don't remember your dreams, but I do remember this. I was on this roller coaster, and it wasn't a ride going up and down at all, but I was on this one little seat car, and I would pop up to this big screen that was in front of me. And these scenes or videos would come up, and I don't know who they were. There were like a couple people off to my side. I never really looked at them. And they would come up to my side, and they would, thank you. They would see how I reacted. I would react with some type of an emotion. I was either afraid, scared, cry. Something would happen, and I would react to it. And then it would stop, and then my little car would go bloop bloop, and then would come up to another screen, and they would show me another scene, and then I would react to that. I would laugh or cry, or some emotion would come out, and they were like watching me, how I would react. I don't know how many times this happened, but it happened a lot. I mean, how many scenes I saw. It happened. There were many scenes. And then the next thing you know it, I was on my bed in the cabin, and I was seeing these red lights reflect off of the tree that was out front, and I was like, oh my God, something is on fire. There's these red lights flickering. Either it could be the leaves moving or the actual lights were flickering, and I tried to get up and I couldn't get up. And obviously that has happened to me many times before. So I eventually broke out of that paralysis, and I got through the door, and the red lights were gone. There was no fire. So was it a craft with their lights reflecting off? That's what I assume. All right. Okay, there are two more. A few years ago, when I was living in Naples, Florida, when I was teaching, I would get up early, like at 3:30. So at 3:30, I would get up and take the dog for a walk, and we ended up walking out towards the main drag. And sometimes you get these feelings that you're being watched. So I'm walking the dog and yelling, hey, come here, and all this stuff. And I look up, and there is this craft, this thing. I don't know how far away it was, 50 feet, 100 feet. It was above the road. Actually, yeah, and you could see I-75. The I-75 was behind that, and that's where Alligator Alley starts. So I lived like on the outside of Naples. And this craft was there, and I saw two lights on it. You could see it even at like 3:34 in the morning. You could see there was something there, and there were two lights on it. And by the time my brain registered that that's a craft, and there's two lights there, no noise, it zipped off to the horizon. And when it zipped off, I followed it. It was just going, and it moved just, not very far, but it moved far, but it not out of my field of vision. It left two lines going off to the horizon. So it moved at an incredible speed, although I don't think it actually moved. I think the way they move is completely different than what we think they do. It just appears that they're moving. Anyway, I looked, I Googled that. Well, I didn't Google, I asked AI. If I had two lights in front of me, at a distance of 100 feet, and I wanted to see, and it made two streaks, two lines going across the sky, how fast would that thing be moving? And it said something like 800, Mach 800 or some astronomical unit. It was like, oh my God, there's no way that. But that's what happened, all right? Okay, and then finally, here, when I was living in Siem Reap up by Angkor Wat, my girlfriend was telling me that she was seeing strange, lights at night and stuff like that. Because we had a big window in the bedroom, and you can look out. We're up on the third floor. You can see over the a big part of the city. So you can see the airplanes in the background and stuff like that, because the airport is way down off to the right. So I woke up, it was like 2:30, and I saw this orange light near the horizon, and it sped up and headed towards, the apartment. And then it kind of like veered off to the side, slowing down just enough. And it was round, it was saucer, and I thought it was a donut. It looked like almost a donut on fire, because it was red and orange and stuff. And then it just kept going, and it almost like came up to us and like, here we are, and then it zoomed off, It was kind of weird. But I realized it wasn't a donut, it was just the way the colors were shaded. It was red on the outside and like a yellowish orange towards the middle. So it appeared to be a donut, but it was all one solid craft with different colors. Anyway, those are the 7 experiences. They're my personal memories. I've tried to keep them basic, to the point. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or anything about the government disclosure. I know they released some more videos, and I've watched a few, and it's like a joke, It's like a scientist who's been in the jungle for a while, saying, "Oh yeah, there's a few insects and animals and plants in the jungle, and that's it." It's like, really? Well, okay, that was my 2 cents. Please keep an open mind, and thanks for watching.